Okay, we're going to talk about data and financial analysis. Let's talk about it from a perspective of a personal bank account just to serve as an example. And this particular example involves online banking, which is not all that uncommon today. And online banking greatly facilitates the collection phase of financial analysis. You got to have data, and the more data the better when it comes to analysis. With Microsoft Excel, the analysis and reporting phase is then a matter of pointing and clicking. So it would be a mistake, however, to rely solely on charts and graphs and call that data analysis, because the facts and the source documents behind the figures are the real issue. So sometimes the facts behind the figures are intuitive and other times not. In either case, the root cause and its impact often lies within the details. The devil's in the details, they say. So in a business context, the recovery plan depends on the impact. In a legal context, for example, the recovery plan, if you want to call it that, depends on the judge and or the jury, or the judge and jury. So let's look at a few examples here. Let's just, bearing in mind that these figures could just as easily have been collected from a law-abiding business or a law-breaking individual. Either case, the analysis shows the habits, trends, and clues. And it's the investigation, the follow-up investigation, and the interviews and the research that tie up all loose ends. Okay, so let's start with something boring like gasoline. See, with Excel, you clear the board, and then you type in a keyword, and here's this individual's gasoline expenditures for the past several years. The variation could be explained by the price of gasoline itself, or driving habits, or of course a little of both. And what would be helpful in this case is to know the price of gasoline, for example, here in 2008, which was my high year. 2200, well, let's see here. It says that 2000 was my high, and my low was like 1300. Where's 1300? Right there was my low, and presents a range of 700. So between 1300 and 2000 for gasoline per year. How about P&M? Let's clear the board and then type P&M. Okay, we've got two P&Ms unfortunately, but it'll do just fine. As for P&M, you would intuitively show and understand that the summer months would be the highest. So what we would have to add to the pivot table would be the month. So that's where the Excel pivot table comes in handy. You show the field list, you drag in the month, then you go back to your chart, and now you're going to have to decrease the number of years that you look at. So let's look at 15, 16, and 15. And you can see right away, let's go to the summer. July, August, September, and maybe a lag. Intuitively, there may be a lag between the actual month and the cost thereof. But look at October of 2016 was very high. Perhaps forgetting, in fact, it doesn't show out, but that almost looks like two bills there. So here's where the data does a nice job of creating the question. What happened in 2016 in October to explain this high bill? I bet you that's two bills. So you would have to go back to the checkbook, check register, and actually a photocopy of the check itself and or the bank statement to explain that. Other than that, the data looks pretty normal, but the previous year, 2015, looks like it was in many cases more expensive than 2016. Let's compare. Well, so that's, I just wanted to show you that the more fields that you have in your data set, the deeper you can drill down. So that's P&M. Let's look at the water bill. Let's go here, deselect, then type in CITY for water, and you would expect the summer months to be higher. Interesting here, July. This must have been 2 bills in July for 2016, but July, August are 2 very high watering months. Surprisingly, March, might want to do some investigation in March. But what happens if we add a couple more years to the analysis? Okay, you still see that your had a real high month in 2013. Makes you wonder what happened there. Perhaps a water main bust, which I know was not the case, but you can postulate and then investigate. 2015 was a high month for July, and again August. So July and August are the heavy months for the water bill. So this is data analysis. Like I said, this could just as easily be a legal investigation. Okay, and finally, let's look at the mortgage. Deselect, select. So I'm also at the same time demonstrating the power of Excel. MORT. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to the pivot table and drag the month out and go back to the chart, and we're going to select all years. See, point and click. So now you have a story, and I do remember that we've refinanced our house a couple of times, but other than those little lower changes, the mortgage was pretty much consistent, except for in 2013 and 14. I just happen to know that in 2013 we paid off the house. In 2 year-end payments crossing, we paid off the house. So that's what you're seeing here. So good news and bad news was paying off the house. Yes, your mortgage disappears, no more mortgage, but you also have no more write-offs. So this is an example of an individual. Now let's look at a school. Here we had I used a Success Maker. The tool is called Success Maker to create a very large table of organized raw data consisting of data from 105 or so schools and a number of rows, 25 columns. But I dumped that data, or I used Access, so that became a table for Access, and then I filtered it down to these few fields: school, teacher, math, reading, total. So that was the data collection was, in this case, Success Maker. The data preparation tool was Access. Then I made a pivot table on the February data, and then a pivot table chart. And here we have a bar chart and a pie chart. The beauty here is you can change the school, and the data changes accordingly. Deselect, select. Deselect, select. And that shows you the teachers in both bar chart and pie chart format for the month of February. So those are two examples, one a private example or a personal example, and one a business example, and that's data analysis. You gather the data, you organize the data such that Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Access does the power lifting and the presentation. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show.